Hey y'all, hope you're doing well today. So lately I have been kind of struggling to pull some thoughts together for my videos, and I'll tell you why. So y'all know I love to do deep dives, right? So I have this book, and I'm not reading it, cover to cover, and I realize that may be part of the problem, but I love to skip around, right? I've always got my paper clips to, for my bookmarks and all this. Well, anyway, the issue I'm having is it's a really deep book, and maybe for someone who's, formally trained in psychology, it's, probably an easy read. But for me, it's not so much like, I guess, what you might call clinical terminology or anything like that. It's just that the concepts presented in this book are really deep. And I so appreciate every human being who has ever dedicated that kind of time to try and understand the human mind, because I feel like the ultimate goal is alleviation of suffering, right? And it's a very honorable and wonderful thing, and it's certainly in my heart to contribute, as best I can. But y'all, this book is deep. This book is deep. And so I'm trying to reorganize my approach to my videos, in that what used to come kind of easy for me, it's like I'm wanting to go deeper in some things, and it's just, I have to accept it's going to take more time. So I'm trying to split my goals with my channel into long term and then short term that are just more easily accessible. They just come together, more quickly, and then I don't want to pick, like I'm always talking about black and white thinking, extremes. I don't want to have to pick one approach or the other. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend my own time, just kind of doing some deep dives and slowly, marinating and letting everything come together for, a final presentation for you all. And then I also want to continue with my regular, shorter, not as deep, deep, but not as deep type of presentations too. I love how there's different channels on YouTube that have different series, where they offer specific subject matter, and they have different playlists and things like that. And so I'm inspired by those channels, and I'm thinking maybe that's the route I'll probably go in the end. So, but I hope you enjoy the message today. I just wanted to mention like what was going on, and then my schedule has been kind of crazy lately, just with my family, and so that's why I haven't posted quite as many as I normally do videos. But I'm still here, and I hope that your new year is off to a wonderful start. If it's not, truthfully, every day is a fresh start. I have literally a little artwork like that in my home, and it's true. And just remember that every single day can be a fresh start. Every moment can be a fresh start for you. You know what I mean? Everything can truly change in an instant, and that's going to be kind of like in relation to our message today. There are things in life that are out of our control, as we know, and those kinds of things can happen completely without our input, and it can change your life in a moment. What I want us to do is to shift our perspective to understand that we also can change our life in a moment too. We have that authority. And so I just hope that the message today gets the wheels turning. As always, that's my number one goal for all of us, and I hope that it's encouraging and inspiring too. So we're going to be talking about rules, essentially. And sorry, I see a tiny spider right here on my Jeep, and I'm gonna roll my window down. Hopefully he'll get out. It takes a lot to scare me. I don't think that, well, he's not going to bite me. I'm going to have to cut this. So rules, rules. I've what came to my mind first when I sat down with my pen to put my thoughts together was this very common saying that people have certainly monopolized on, and is that even the right term? I don't even know, but they've profited off this phrase. You know, it's on t-shirts and mugs and everything else, and it's the whole but first, and then fill in the blank, you know, but first coffee, but first Jesus, you know, but first whatever. And you know, I understand that kind of stuff's fun, but what if that kind of stuff actually matters? What if there are so many things in life that are influencing our lives and we're totally unaware of them? And so we're going to take that concept today. We're going to be inspired by it, you know, of the but first concept, and we're going to run with it. So, you know, as we wake up to how easily we can be unconsciously influenced, right? It means that to begin operating wisely, we need to take authority over what we are exposed to, because even just simple exposure can influence us, right? Without our permission. That's kind of the key point here. So, and so if we take authority over everything we're exposed to, like each day, right? If we fill this spot, if we fill in this blank first, right? The but first, and then fill in the blank. If we do that on purpose and consciously, how might that impact or affect our life? So, so I have this old picture of me, and I'd like to share it with you all one day. But it's kind of it's really interesting to look at, because it's during a time in my life when I feel like I wasn't very awake or aware, and literally I'm standing there, and my arms are just down by my side, and I'm kind of leaned over. I think I've mentioned it before. It's almost like I'm in this sleepwalking state. You know, it's very unnatural, you know, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But it's like it's literally a manifestation, a materialization of the fact that I didn't at that time have conscious authority and control over my life. And that's the most bizarre thing to consider, and it's kind of a paradox, because really and truly I did. It's not like I was just you know, robotic and truly had no authority. I mean, I did have authority. You know, I've always been a person with gumption, a person who has taken a proactive approach to life and made my own decisions, you know. But what I'm talking about is what I'm sure, if you're watching, you know, my videos, you're on my channel, unfortunately, you've probably had some experience with this. And that is the experience of being covertly controlled by another person or group, unconsciously manipulated from an outside source. So it was just incredible now from you know, the future, looking back, right? From this point, looking back into the past, to see, literally, you could see it. And you know, I'm not the first to say that. I know there's been you know, I've found several people on YouTube who have shared their stories, and you know, how even their bodies were affected, you know, with declining health. And let me just pause here and say, I understand that our mental state can affect our physical state. I get it. That's true. But please don't ever assume that that's what's going on with you. If you're having like a physical breakdown and your body's declining, please get tests run. And just remember too that any kind of toxic substances that you may have been given and you didn't know it, that kind of stuff won't always show up in your blood and urine tests, because that's like a quick kind of thing. You know, like if you were exposed in the last 24 to 48 hours, if you were exposed prior to that, it's going to have to be a hair test, okay? So just please don't ever assume that it's just your mental state and stress that's causing all these symptoms that you're having. It may be, but it could be something else. And so it could be life-saving for you to, you know, just make sure you cover all your bases and get yourself checked out. So safety first, always, always, always. So, but yeah, it was really interesting to look back on that. And so I want us to think about this. is we're starting to live our life with more intention because we've woken up. And we know that evil truly does walk this earth. We know that there is a dark side, there's darkness, right? If we consider the importance of the point of leaving and arriving every day, just this concept, all right? If we consider that in regards to our life, it makes sense. Let me explain. You know, if you think about it, we always tend to remember the last of something, right? Like, for example, the last time you saw someone before they passed away. You know, it's like their passing away solidifies this last memory you have of them in your mind. And so and then we also tend to remember the firsts, all of our firsts, right? So there is something important with regards to the first and the last. And then and so how we're going to put this into how we operate is going to be the first and last with how we operate, meaning when we arrive into our day, or when we leave our waking stage and enter or arrive into our dream world. You know, a lot of times whenever you're laying there in bed just dwelling on, if it's negative stuff, unfortunately, that, have you found? I have, that it tends to impact our dreams. So, you know, it's this is how we start to kind of pay even more attention to see, like, okay, what are the critical points throughout each day that we need to really monitor. We need to truly be on guard with our thoughts, with what we're exposed to, with who we're around. You see what I'm saying? So those entry points, those exit points, right? The departure, the arrivals, just throughout these if you section off your day, you know, those are going to be important points to truly monitor and take authority over. So timing is really important. And then so identifying how and when, which is what we were just talking about, right? We are most impressionable matters. So the other activating factor, if you think about people who manipulate us, and we're trying to sharpen our discernment so that we can live the rest of our life, you know, with more peace and safety and joy, and just being able to just breathe and relax, you know, and enjoy this life. You know, sharpening our discernment, you know, it's not that we have to totally understand these wolves in sheep's clothing, but just enough, understand, you know, the way they operate enough to protect ourselves. So another key term you might jot down if you're journaling would be activating factor, right? What are the activating factors of their manipulative tactics, you know, that actually affect us, that produce results for them, okay? So to me, another activating factor would be pressure, because when we're under the control of a dominating person or group, denying us, when they deny us time to think for ourselves, it's a great way for them to slip in covertly, subtly, a substitute decision or conclusion. See, they can put off your thought process. They can create this pressure by putting off your thought process. Maybe they ask for your opinion and they say, well, I always care about what you think. I always want your input. See, that's what they're saying to you. And I know this, like from firsthand experience. They can say this to you, but what you're experiencing is that they present something to you because they really want your input and they care. And then as they're explaining it, you're trying to, you know, tabulate this in your mind, and it's trying to come together, but it's not making sense. This is where you get those terms like circular conversations and word salad and things like that, and your mind's trying to figure it out. So they can use confusion, right? But they can also implement pressure here. This is this activating factor. They implement pressure like it's a time-sensitive matter for you to make that decision, and since you can't, right, which also another benefit to them is like a secondary benefit is that you wind up feeling just totally, stupid, and you're not. You're not, but your experiences like this, if you have enough of these experiences, you kind of start to question your, capability, regardless of everything else you've accomplished in life. It's like, man, what's going on, And so they can confuse you. That's just one of many tactics. Implement that pressure, like, hey, this is time sensitive. And then that's just a way for you to unconsciously be manipulated into just accepting whatever they say is, hey, I haven't, they'll say, hey, what if we just do this? Is that okay? They'll just offer this decision or resolution or conclusion or whatever. And, you'll be so stressed out at that point, especially if you've been exposed to this kind of treatment enough, you wind up just saying, yeah, whatever, that's fine, okay, whatever, I don't really understand, or, and you just kind of hand it over. You hand that authority over in that way. That's how they work you. So we know, after going through these kind of experiences, that adopting adopting a lifestyle of, or cultivating, if you've never had it, if you grew up in a dominating household, but you want to create self-authority, you want to cultivate it, you want to adopt it, you want to reclaim it, whatever it is, right? Discover it, whatever it is, you've got to get to a place of self-authority. It's essential, because here's what I found. If you have already filled a role, okay, again, personification is a great tool in psychology. Like in that book I shared with y'all, Women Who Run with the Wolves, the different parts of the psyche. If you personify each part, it's like it helps us to comprehend how our minds work. So if you fill a role within your own mind of the authority figure, then what happens is the results of doing that kind of just happen secondarily. It's beautiful to experience. And so I always try to keep and I encourage you guys to do that too. Keep your eyes open. I was fortunate when I was younger. I took some karate lessons, and that was one of the main things that stuck with me, was they taught you to just always be aware of your environment, and I try to be what's going on around you, But if you've already filled that role, so let's go back to that saying that we used to be inspired with today, but first, if we fill that role in our mind, just as an overarching theme, or as our environment changes, the atmosphere starts to feel a little irritating to our spirit, or if there's a shift in our environment or atmosphere, or if there's a change in our day with timing, we're entering a new phase within our day, or whatever it is. Just be aware and observant enough to know when to activate that authority figure in your mind to be on guard, okay? That's one way, a part of taking that authority over our life. So if we have already filled this role in our mind consciously, then these avenues, all these different avenues or methods for persuasion, will be cut off just as a result of this rule that we've created within our own mind, which the rule would be, I determine what goes on and how everything works, and what I agree to, and it don't even have to be spoken. That's the beauty of it. This kind of stuff doesn't even have to be like detailed out. It's like a spiritual thing. It's like you don't even have to bring it down and confine it within language. But the point is, you'll suddenly feel no sense of urgency anymore. It's like we've normalized that. When you've been controlled by someone for a long time, you've normalized the pressure to the degree that you don't even realize you've done it, until that has gone, until the pressure has been relieved, and suddenly there's no sense of urgency anymore. It's like a beautiful thing to experience. The tension that maybe you carried, like this, or whatever, in your body, it just kind of goes away. Your migraines may stop, literally. But you realize, again, in hindsight, all along, that these promptings from these people were like little electric shocks to your psyche, to your psychological system. So when you leave behind this fear-based operation, right, that you were unconscious of, then you start to flourish, and it does become noticeable. You're gonna look different in your pictures now. You're that's what they call the glow up. It's gonna be evident. See, these people know. And when they know that you're waking up, you may not even be at the point in the waking up process where, it's all clicking, but they see it. And so they're going to give themselves away at some point during your awakening process, because they're going to start interacting with you very differently. It's a wonderful thing to see, because it's freedom. It's freedom. The shackles, the spiritual chains with these awful entities, the darkness that's operating through these people, or however you want to position it, whatever lens you want to use, it's losing, and you watch it happen. So, you may not consider yourself having ever been a fearful person. I didn't. But as I was waking up, I started to see that pressure, when these people apply pressure to us, it's like it's not identified on the receiving end. When we're receiving this pressure, I don't think we consciously identify it as fear, but it's like an intimidation. It's like an energetic type, dominating, predatory type energy. So that's what I meant when I said fear-based. It's not that you're actually fearful. It's just that you are experiencing the effects of this predator, really. But you're looking at them and they look like a sheep, but they're really a ravenous wolf. That's why you feel the energy. And that's why their words don't match. So how do they even get to this point of authority over our lives? It's because, this is just my opinion, obviously, my perspective, but it's because they are covertly implementing rules, right? They're implementing this, and they're placing this on us, okay? And this again is, this is not talking about overtly, mean people or cruel or psychologically abusive, whatever, overtly. It's talking about the ones who are slick, the ones who are covert, cunning, wolves in sheep's clothing, right? They're doing this covertly. But that's what they're doing. They're placing rules on you, and not by your permission. They're just doing it and getting you to comply in covert ways. So what happens is, the results are that there are unspoken expectations that you understand on some level as this is being done to you, and you're abiding by these covert unspoken rules that this person has created for you, right? And all this is happening covertly without a word being spoken, and in fact the words are used in opposition to what you're experiencing, as just to, add to their mask. They're saying they love you. They're saying they, don't want you to feel so stressed out. They're saying they're concerned about your health and what's happening. They're, all this stuff. So, you have to look beyond that. So, and that right there is why when you call out what's going on, not like pointing a finger at a person, but like when you speak the truth of these matters out in the open, it's like shocking and almost like taboo, and it could be dangerous, okay? But it's like, wow, to them and to others, because all this was true. It was true. It just wasn't being spoken. And so when you just speak the obvious, it's like, it's gonna hurt when other people don't see it, even though it's right there in front of them, because these other people are under their spell as well. Because when you see it, you can't unsee it. It just is what it is. But you get your point across to these people who have been exploiting you and doing this to you by replacing their rules they placed on you, their covert rules, with your own. Okay? And they will get the message. Even if you don't say a word, they're going to get the message. Because everything will change. Alright? And you know what? When it starts to happen, like I said, they're going to start acting different. When they do this, it's going to be your confirmation. You know, because you're probably going to have remnants of, you know, the effects of gaslighting, where you still kind of doubt yourself. Even though it's really undeniable, you still may have some doubt in your heart. So they're going to confirm at some point everything to you. And like I said, it's not like you speak this stuff. It's not like you suddenly just stop becoming, you know, a person with integrity and character. It's, you know, like back when I was in high school, we used to call people, you know, I didn't really do this, but this was a common phrase, like a prick. You know? So it's not like you're suddenly going to become this abrasive prick, you know. You're still going to be respectful. You're still going to be in your true character, but you're going to start denying their attempts at manipulating your mind and emotions, and you're going to do that covertly too. You're going to meet them there. Not like going down to their level, meet them there, but it's like you have the the obvious world, and then you have the, you know, the not obvious world or realm, and they're operating back here, and you let them know that, you know that this exists, and they're operating back here by meeting them there. You see what I'm saying? So I can tell you firsthand what happens when this goes down. They may go really quiet around you, start looking at you. They may avoid you, or I'm going to share a funny saying with you in the South. They may start to kiss your fanny. Which just means, love bombing you. But it's not at this point for the intention. If they know you know the jig is up, then it's not for the point of manipulating you at this point. It's just like, please don't retaliate. Please don't, you know, whatever, expose me, or, you know. So you're gonna see a shift again. They're gonna either be just super nice, or they're going to avoid you more and more and more and more and more, or totally if they can, or they're just gonna go really, really quiet, but usually with a hard look, a lot of hard looks if you're still exposed to them. Sometimes with the jaw cocked, with the hard look, you know. So body language is real. You know it is. It gives people away too. So if you continue to observe and research and learn and grow, it starts to look like everyone's true nature, their true character, is revealed eventually, you know, at some point. You have to be so strong during this process, especially when it's people that you truly loved. Family members, friends, or even a spouse. And it's sad, and it's weird. It's so weird, because you can identify, you can literally get to a place where you can identify their patterns of manipulation to the point that you can predict your interactions with them. You can predict how it's going to go. So yeah, patterns indicate that there's something going on that's not natural. It's not organic. You know, I just learned a new term. I think I heard this on Sam Vaknin's channel. And that phrase is uncanny valley. Uncanny valley. And it means, if you're not familiar with it, it means like when there's a human likeness to something, like a robot, for example. And it's believed that, or observed that, our affinity, our tendency to really like this human likeness in this thing, it just increases the more and more human they are. It's like we just really like that until a certain point. And then when we get to this point of they're so much like us, yet we know they're not true, it's not a true person, it's like instead of, continuing to like this robot or whatever, it tanks, it plummets. And there's like this feeling of unease around the robot at this point. You see what I'm saying? So that's what the term represents. It's called uncanny valley. So because these people, when you realize their whole essence is operating, when their whole essence of operating is patterned and predictable, when you realize that about them, it starts to feel that way, like they're a robot. It's weird when you can truly, and I know this firsthand, when you stop blindly trusting a person, even a person you've known your whole life, and you stop taking for granted that you really know them. Oh, I know them. Stop, automatically thinking that way and feeling that way towards them, and you step back and you put yourself first, and your safety and your mind and your assessment capability first, and you start to really, really pay attention, and you catch patterns in these people, and you can literally write them down, and then you see it repeated over and over and over, which is what a pattern is. And then you can predict how they're going to interact with you. It's creepy. It's really, really weird and creepy and strange. One of the strangest things ever. So it starts to give you that same feeling of uncanny valley. It's like they're from the dark side or something. It's strange. So I looked up, I mentioned organic, the opposite of that would be natural and organic. And so the etymology of organic from the 1510s meant serving as a means or instrument. So if we think about this for a minute, this is going to be a mind bender. I like to bend my mind a little bit sometimes, just, for different lenses, different, ways to see something, because I get a lot out of it, and I hope you do too. So check this out. The Bible talks about us being a vessel or an instrument for God, right? If you think about a robot, like an AI type robot that's meant to be very much like a humanoid, you might say, they're limited by their code, right? Their programming. And therefore, they're going to have those patterns of, interacting with us, patterns of operation. They're going to operate in expected ways. A human being has free will. And even though we may be predictable because we have habits, we can be unpredictable. An AI can't do that. A robot can't do that. A true, organic, natural, real human being can be unpredictable. So with coding, I'm thinking of like computer code, you see the whole of it. This thing, this being, whatever. The end of it, the limitations of it. You can see that with the coding. With a vessel, you see the vessel. The operating system is hidden. It's hidden. So I'm reminded of, in the Bible it says we are hidden with Christ in God. We are organic. We are instruments of God. So being hidden in this manner with Christ and God is our protection. And that's what these people don't get. That's what they don't get. It's not only our protection, it's our sword and our GPS. Okay? It's how we identify our kind of people. It's how we can see each other spiritually. So, it's just that we weren't aware of this. It's a process to wake up. It truly is. So now that we are aware, I just want to ask you, especially since it's the start of a new year, what's next? What's next? Because you are limitless. So I hope you've been encouraged and inspired by the message. I hope it got the wheels turning most of all for you, regardless of your beliefs. And I just hope that you enjoyed it. And I thank you so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.